Hello, good evening, and welcome back. Thomas Cook clamps a big threat to Spain's tourist industry. So, of course, with the Brexit negotiations happening, when you've got southern countries that are already sneered at by most of the European Union, by which I mean Germany, seeing as they are the power hub and they're just trying to own Europe by other means now. They're deciding to be less aggressive, physically aggressive than they were before. You've got them calling the southern countries pigs, as in Portugal, Italy, Greece, and Spain. So they might not care so much for Spain here, but nonetheless, it's important seeing as they're all in the Eurozone, and therefore if Spain fails, then it brings down their entire economy internationally within the Eurozone. The same goes for Greece, of course. So let's see what they say. Staff at Thomas Cook's largest subsidiary in Spain say are the biggest victims of its demise. We have the hotels here open and waiting, but the customers can't get here, said Commander Estalela, head of Spain's leading hotelier association. The sudden collapse last month of one of Europe's biggest travel groups, Thomas Cook, ruined the holidays of 600,000 stranded tourists. Hundreds of thousands more had trips booked when the news was announced, but for parts of Spain's tourist sector, Thomas Cook's demise is also an existential threat. Yes, we felt it around here as well. People being very unhappy and then trying to book more flights and so on, and that's quite a popular excuse. But anyway, the Spanish Confederation of Hotels and Tourist Accommodation said that 1.3 million autumn and winter visitors will be unable to fly into Spanish destinations. And I think this is a nice little point to pause and say this is an example of capitalism at work, or free markets at work, to say that you can have a company that's been around for a hell of a long time. Thomas Cook, I believe, has been around for over 150 years now. And so the airline service has now failed. Because they can't keep up with their competitors, of course. It's a business model that went over productions, I believe went over, and why it all seems to happen at the same time of year, because they get their money in for bookings later on, of course, and booking holidays at this time of year isn't nearly as popular, and they've just lost out from the summer, so now they don't have the money, and it's all dried up, and so they've gone bust, evidently. So to say, Spain's Canary Islands archipelago is preparing for its high season as a popular winter sun destination, but the Spanish government calculates that 400,000 Thomas Cook travellers will not be reaching the islands after all. 400,000, wow. That's almost as many people we get coming to Britain in half a year. So, the first hotel on the islands to close its doors as a result of the impact on tourism was the Fuerteventura Princess, which had an exclusive deal with Thomas Cook covering 95%. Okay, yep, yada yada, we get the idea here. They're saying Mallorca staff were limbo, but people have said that they worked extra for Thomas Cook, but now there's no point to it, so what the hell? So, well, of course, that's the agreement that you form, and people seem to think that these companies are too big to fail, but I would say that they're too big to not fail. And this is a great example of that, and I'm glad that the government didn't intervene, because of course that's what they were saying. They were saying, hey, UK government, you should intervene so that we can stay afloat to sort people out. And they're saying, lol, no, this isn't our problem, this is your problem. Why should a business that's bigger receive even more special treatment from the government so that even when it fails, it gets bailed out? It's the same with the banks, and I don't think it should have happened then, and I'm glad it didn't happen here. That's fair enough. That's also why you have insurance. And so the insurers are obviously getting hated and going to be charging people more in order to cover things like this, but that is their business as well. So of course this could have a ripple effect, because you have things that are a lot less stable than people think, or on the flip side, of course, it's just a gamble, as insurance always is. It's legalized gambling, so something like this was bound to happen eventually. So let's see just how they finish up here. People travelling today don't go so much to a place, but rather to do something specific. Nowadays, he argued, tourists were looking for a product, either active holidays such as playing golf, paragliding and diving, or more leisure-based breaks involving nature, astronomy and cultural tourism. And airlines like Ryanair have made this good, that it's similar that they've been able to make spots more touristy, because instead of going to the main hubs and trying to get cheaper flights there, they would just buy out an airport, essentially, be the vast majority of their traffic, therefore they can get cheaper cheaper landing fares, basically, because they're responsible for so much of their business, and because of that they can offer cheaper flights to customers, and because of that those populations, those destinations become more popular, and that's how they grow and boom. But here we have a nice little thing, and this is applicable for your life as well, which is that if you buy something, you might feel a bit better for a bit, but that won't last. But if you do something, then that'll last a hell of a lot longer. It's the events that stick with you, ironically, much more than the material goods. So I would say that. I know you and Harry has done a similar explanation into if you buy something for someone else instead of for yourself, that it's essentially that gesture is the event then. At least that's my interpretation of it, is the event of which you feel better for than just obtaining that material good, especially if it's a consumable like a coffee, but never mind. So that's my tip to you, that of course you can be more generous, but if not, then you can do the events, and that's what's going to make you feel happier. It's similarly for chronoception, which is the knowledge of the passing of time, that if you're doing something repetitive, menial and boring, then the time when you're doing it is going to seem to last forever. But when you look back on it, you can't remember it at all. But if you're doing something novel, new and exciting, then in the moment the time is going to pass very quickly, but when you look back on it, you'll remember it so vividly that it'll seem to have lasted a lot longer. So I was just saying that. So that's my tip for this video. Go do something exciting. And with that in mind, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you next time. Although I've noticed that YouTube has been censoring me a hell of a lot more since my last video. So thank you and good night.